Welcome to Prime Time with Ngullie, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Father's Day to all of you in advance. I'm not sure what you might be preparing for your father's big day because pork prices and other rickshaw fares seem to be higher than most people's salary in Nagaland. We will be going through some of the top news makers from the previous week. The monsoon rains are here and Dimapur is already complaining about the floods in the city. Now previously, just a little while ago, we were complaining about the heat, and later on when the rains came, we started complaining about the floods and the water there. So I don't know what we're going to do now, but for now it's the monsoon rains. We will be covering some of the top news makers from the previous week, so stay tuned. It looks like the crisis in Manipur will take a long time to heal, even if overt normalcy is achieved, ladies and gentlemen. At least 9 people were killed and 10 people were injured when suspected militants attacked a village in the Kaminlok area of Manipur, the police said earlier. So this was one of the biggest newsmakers from the previous week. Alleged militants armed with sophisticated weapons allegedly surrounded villagers of Kaminlok bordering Impal East District and Kampoki District in Manipur. Police said during the time that the attackers allegedly launched the attack in the morning at about 1 a.m. The area is said to be located along the borders of the Meitei dominated Impal East District and the tribal majority Kampoki district, ladies and gentlemen. Previously, even before this, 9 people were said to have been injured in another gunfight in Kaminlok area between militants and village volunteers. Again, security forces also exchanged fire with Kuki militants in Bishnupur district on Tuesday. Reports during the time had said the militants were trying to make bunkers when they were challenged by the security forces there. That was the report. This resulted in the gunfight. This was one of the biggest newsmakers the previous day, ladies and gentlemen. Russia is no longer ordering silent JCBs from Kohima, ladies and gentlemen, because now the issue between the NSF and this organization called the Naga Club has more or less been resolved. The way things are standing right now, the Naga Students Federation withdrew the FIR it had filed with the police in connection with a so-called vandalism of its office in Kohima on May 27th, ladies and gentlemen. The Federation had said during the previous week that it decided to withdraw the FIR after consultations with the organization's senior leaders and constituents. I believe that the consultations may have had inputs from the influential Angami public organization and the Kohima Village Council. So the 2 community organizations had on June 7th appealed to the Federation to withdraw the FIR as a good gesture to find an amicable solution to the issue. Now the NSF, ladies and gentlemen, still stands on its statement that the present Naga Club is not mandated and that the Naga people should decide the relevance of this group's existence in the present context. The students' organization also said that the NSF and the All Nagaland College Students Union shall resume work from the Naga Club building. On a personal note, I believe that the original Naga Club of 1918 was a formation of various sections of the Naga community to fulfill a function of being a representative to the British government, ladies and gentlemen. I think our elders in the community will know this. The club provided the political foundation for the Naga nationalist movement. In 1929, it submitted a memorandum to the Simon Commission requesting that the Naga people should be given a choice of self-determination, that is independence, after the British government departed from India. Then the organization, the Naga Club, the original one I'm talking about, the organization disappeared from view as new political representatives and platforms emerged, ladies and gentlemen. Then suddenly, a few years ago, a group of people emerged asserting claim over the Naga Club's legacy, ladies and gentlemen. I think we all should have a very honest conversation about this. Just imagine 100 years later in the future, the descendants of NDPP and BJP leaders or relatives of Nifirio and Yantungopatan emerge from nowhere in the future and start claiming that the Nagaland Legislative Assembly belongs to them just because their forefathers worked with Nifirio or Yantungopatan. That would be weird, totally weird. We really need to be honest with ourselves. Times have changed and the Naga people have already moved on, so we really need to have an honest conversation about this. Let's check out the next newsmaker from Manipur again. The previous week preoccupied itself with a crisis in Manipur, ladies and gentlemen. How the biggest newsmakers just seem to fill the news space in the northeast region, at least, was just astounding. So the biggest newsmaker during the previous week was the beginning of attacks on ministers' residences in Manipur. The June 15 reports focus on a mob burning down the house of a Manipur minister named Cha Kipen. The Kuki minister's house is said to be located at Lamp Hill in Impal West. So the minister had already left the quarter on May 4th. This was one of the first attacks on a ministerial leader in Manipur since the violence between the Meitei and the Kuki communities started in May. I think you may have been aware of this. It was reported that 9 security personnel who were deployed at that place during the time of the incident were suspended because they could not stop the mob from destroying the minister's house. A commander of the security unit there said that they were overpowered by a mob of approximately 500 people. So these people, they allegedly hurled petrol bombs and burned down the entire residence of the minister. Interestingly, the security commander identified as one, and Janet mentioned that they could at least save a car of the minister. All the 9 personnel were suspended later, the reports had said during the time. The violence and the attacks will stop. Schools will start opening and maybe normalcy will return, but the wound that has been caused by the violence between the communities will forever be absorbed within the social, cultural psyche and political narratives of the people of Manipur, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it gets resolved very soon. Elsewhere in the northeast, ladies and gentlemen, the Meghalaya government smelled something very fishy when reports about formalin-laced fish being sold emerged. Nagaland has had a similar experience a couple of years ago. The Meghalaya Fisheries Department had announced during the previous week the formation of a fact-finding committee to investigate the alleged sale of formalin-laced fish that was said to have been imported from outside the state. So this decision was made during a meeting between the Meghalaya Fisheries Department and various stakeholders and associations representing fish farmers, wholesalers and retailers. According to reports from the previous week, tests that were conducted by the state's Food and Safety Department revealed that 30 out of 42 samples of imported fish had tested positive for formalin, the chemical. This led to a ban on the sale of fish in Meghalaya for about 15 days. Interestingly, the Meghalaya Minister A.L. Hek informed that the associations presented a report from the government of Andhra Pradesh saying that there was no formalin, no ammonia, no banned substances or toxic elements or chemicals that were used in any manner in the fish that were tested for export. It was to ascertain the truth behind these contradictory findings that the Fisheries Department had decided to establish a fact-finding committee for the state of Meghalaya. For those who do not know, formalin is used as a disinfectant and a preservative for biological specimens, ladies and gentlemen. The chemical is used in glues and resins, dyes and textiles, disinfectants, building materials, and even I read automobile parts and embalming of dead bodies. And of course it is also used in laboratory experiments because it's a chemical. Let's check out the next newsmaker, ladies and gentlemen. Right after Minister Nemcha Kipin's house was burned, another incident took place as an apparent retaliation that came in the form of a mob torching the residence of another minister, Union Minister Rajkumar Rajan Singh in Impal's Kongba on Thursday. The residence in Impal was set on fire while the minister was in Kerala. That was the report that we received the previous week. The minister expressed sadness at attack on his house. He said more than 50 people attacked his home. Thankfully, nobody was there during the time the attack happened. Singh comes from the Meitei community. He continues to appeal to both the sides to stay away from violence and to work forward toward restoring peace in the state. However, there is a bigger news associated to this. I'm not saying that the incident of burning the house down was something to be undermined, but this was the news. The minister, a BJP minister, himself criticized the Manipur government, which is run by his own party, the BJP. So Ranjan Singh said on Friday that the law and order situation in Manipur has failed. He called it a total failure. It is not often and very unnatural for a political party leader to criticize their own governments or their own party leaders. But after his house was destroyed, the minister said that the law and order situation in Manipur had failed, and this was a clear statement that stood openly against a dispensation led by his party, the BJP, no less. Law and order condition in Manipur is a total failure, he said. I repeat, the existing government could not contain peace. It was for that very reason, he said, the central government had sent security to the state. He doesn't know how the state mechanism, the law and order mechanism in the state turned out to be a failure, the minister said. Those were the top newsmakers for the previous week, ladies and gentlemen. We will be bringing you more updates and recaps of the stories that have already been reported across the Northeast region and of course the world. So keep tuned in and keep supporting us. I'm Ngullie. See you next time.